Ben transferred from Loyola University to a local college near the Midwest metropolis where he grew up. Through his younger sister's influence, Ben, an unchurched young adult, began to hang around an active evangelical church near his home. Paul, the church youth pastor, invited him to help with the youth group and then to join the high school mission trip to Guatemala. There, Ben made a first commitment to follow Jesus. In time, Ben and his college-age brother and sister began to cook for their friends on Friday nights. Sometimes they pulled out a guitar and sang songs, including Christian music. The gathering grew to 20 and then 30 college students and young people pursuing careers. They went skiing over winter break, and Ben came alongside and gently cared for each young adult. The lead pastor reached out to Ben and connected with him regularly for mentoring and prayer, and the church offered Ben the chapel on Friday nights. This community became Access, a young adult ministry of the church with 30 to 60 young adults showing up on Sunday nights and eventually Sunday mornings for worship led by Ben and friends. Many were new to church and not yet following Jesus. Ariana, a young adult on the church support staff, tended the fledgling group, which drew young people, including nuns, those who don't identify with any type of religion, and dones, those who have given up on church attendance. The Access community invited people to speak each Sunday on topics significant to emerging adults' faith and purpose. For this community of young adults, church was anything but irrelevant. It was an essential part of their social routine. The other side of the coin. However, groups like this are far from common. Much research from the past decade or so shows that North American congregations are losing many more young adults than they're gaining, at least among the youngest emerging adults, 18 to 23-year-olds. When we look at individuals' religious trajectories during their young adult years, we see that many more of them experience a decline in religious faith and practice, 63%, than growth, 8%. The term dones is fitting for those who have been there, done that, and dropped out of church for 12 months or longer. How are bright spot churches reaching one of the least reached, least churched, especially the younger 18 to 23-year-olds, and the least supported cohort in terms of social services and church support? This question drove me to research that small minority of young adults growing in religious service attendance, prayer, and salience, which led me to study the pathways that bright spot churches create to serve the pre-conversion journeys of emerging adults. To better understand how to engage unchurched young adults effectively, it's critical that we know what's happening in churches that effectively evangelize emerging adults. We also need to listen to the stories of emerging adults who are experiencing spiritual transformation. And we need to hear the stories of bright spot churches, which have proven effective at reaching and retaining former nuns, the religiously unaffiliated, and dones, church dropouts. What is going right in the churches that are effectively evangelizing them? How can North American churches have an impact on emerging generations? What would success even look like these days? What would it take to get young adults to come to church and to stay there? Is anyone doing it? My research on the spiritual journeys of emerging adults, a group I roughly define as 19 to 29 years old, suggests that the answer is yes. The good news. The small percent of young adults growing in their faith stand out in a culture of indifference and disillusionment, and this has led me to uncover a new script being written in certain churches scattered across North America. When researching my own denomination, the Evangelical Covenant Church, I discovered a breathtaking phenomenon. There are churches that young adults really like.